Alright, this is the 9th deck I have. This is the token deck. I call it elf tokens because most of the tokens I make are elf related. So yeah, this one just focuses on making lots and lots of tokens as much as possible. So let's go through it. First I have Pendelhaven. It's a very cool land. It doesn't come into play tapped even, so there's not that much drawback to this land. It's like a forest, adds green, doesn't come into play tapped, but it has an additional property of making a 1/1 creature get +1/+2 until end of turn. So you can use it to buff up some of the elves in this deck, a lot of which are 1/1s. Yeah, just to make them survive, make them a little bit more tougher if they're threatened by, by another creature. So good protective land. Wolfskull's Shaman, one of my token cards. 2-mana 2/2. Beginning of my upkeep, I look at the top card in my library, and if it's an elf or a shaman, then I get a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So this is a token generation card. Yeah. So if it's an elf or a shaman, of which a lot of creatures in this deck are, then I get a 2/2 green wolf. Okay, Imperious Perfect, really good card. It's a 3-mana 2/2, buffs up my other elves, and then 1 mana, tap, get a 1/1, well, essentially a 2/2 elf warrior creature token. So this generates tokens every turn, which are at least 2/2s. So this is a really good card for continuous token generation as well. I have Cool Forest right here. Let's see what else we have. Land of Wild Elves, this is one pretty famous elf. Just 1 mana for 1/1, tap, add green to your mana pool. Pretty simple and very, very versatile. The fact that it's only 1 mana, I mean, makes it very, very good value. So just 1 mana, tap, add 1, speeds up everything. Elfish Mystic is the same as Land of Wild Elf. It's the exact same, except this one is also Druid. That's pretty much the only difference. I don't know. I guess they didn't want to reprint a Land of Wild Elves, so they gave it another name. Oin Reef the Vastwood is comes into play tapped, but you get a +1/+1 counter on each green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. That's the ability here. This is really useful for a token deck like this one. When you're producing like a bunch of tokens a turn, and then that you can pump them up by +1/+1 counter on each of them, that makes a pretty big difference. So, or you can even like pump up like a Land of Wild Elf to 2/2, and that can make a difference too. So, this land comes in handy for a token deck like this. Buffs up all my creatures when they come into play. What else do I have? Oh, Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. 3-mana 3 counters, Planeswalker. The first ability, put a 0/1 green plant creature token. Second ability, play a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. I think those two are pretty useful for this deck. I have a lot of creatures, and she creates her own tokens as well. So nice to have. Plus, it's only 3 mana, so cheap Planeswalker. Sap-Wheeling Symbiosis is a really cool card. 4 mana, you put a 1/1 green creature token into play for each creature you control. So this pretty much doubles all my creature tokens. Yeah, it doubles all my creatures. I get a creature token for each creature I control. So that's what it does. It adds a lot of tokens. Essence Warden makes me gain a lot of life. It's 1 mana, and then another creature comes to play, gain 1 life. When I'm creating a ton of tokens like this, I can gain a lot of life. So really, really useful. So I have Squirrel Nest. 3 mana, I put it on a land, and then the land has tap, put a 1/1 green squirrel creature token to play. This is so useful because lands are so hard to destroy in comparison to creatures. So yeah, you had to have, like most people, I would say like pretty much every deck packs some creature destruction, but not a lot of decks actually pack land destruction. So yeah, this makes it very hard to remove this enchantment, or you can use a naturalize or whatever, but still, it's very hard to remove, and your land can now create creature tokens. So do that every turn. Wirewood Hive Master, whenever another elf comes into the battlefield, I get a 1/1 green insect creature token. So because a lot of these are elves, then I get a lot of insects in addition to them. So more tokens come into the battlefield with that. Spawning Pit. Okay, it's 2 mana artifact. I sacrifice a creature, get a charge counter, and then I remove 2 charge counters, put a 2/2 spawn artifact creature token, which can be sacrificed then to Spawning Pit to put another charge counter. So it basically almost fuels itself. just by itself. And the fact that you can do this at any time, like, yeah, this just produces like I would say this makes all your tokens that die produce another token for every 2 tokens that died. So that's really useful. You can sacrifice a creature anytime. So if a token is almost dead anyways, you would just sacrifice it all the time. You know, creature gets lethal damage, sacrifice it. Creature dies, sacrifice it. You know, you can do that at any time. You put a charge counter, and then you can fuel those charge counters into even more tokens. You know, so you can like squirrel dies, insect dies, elf token dies. They fuel this thing, which gives me even more tokens, spawn creature tokens. So, and then the spawn creature tokens can fuel even more spawn creature tokens. So that's crazy. This one, parallel lives. If I can put 1 or more tokens, then I get double that many. This is essentially doubling season, half the effect of doubling season. But doubling season is like way more expensive because people generally want to have an effect that doubles the amount of counters because planeswalkers are played so often, and other cards like that make use of counters. But yeah, this is still a pretty useful effect. Put 1 or more tokens, it puts twice that many tokens, so I double all my tokens. And if you look at cards like Sapling Symbiosis, this one essentially quadruples the amount of tokens the amount of creatures I have, right? This one already doubles my creatures, and then this one would like quadruple it, would double the double, you know, it would quadruple it. So Beacon of Creation, I get a 4 mana, I get a green insect creature token for each forest I control. So yeah, if you're playing all forest and you play this, you get at least 4. And then the great thing about this is it goes back into your deck, so you can reuse it later. So it's a reusable kind of effect, which is great. Garruk Relentless. I use this card because it's a planeswalker that you can put a 2/2 green wolf creature token in the battlefield for free every turn. And it can deal damage if it needs to. It's a target creature, yeah. But mainly I use it for the token effect, the free generating token effect every turn. Garruk Wildspeaker also generates tokens. You can tap 2 lands, so you can reuse 2 mana every turn. Or you can get a 3/3 creature token, beast creature token, and it has an overrun ability to finish the opponent off when you have a lot of creature tokens, so that's really useful. Okay, what else? Skull Clamp. This one's really good. I think this might be banned in Modern as well. The main effect of this is equip 1. When it puts in a graveyard, you draw 2 cards. So because a lot of tokens are 1/1s, a lot of tokens that are produced are 1/1s, you kill it with this thing, you equip it, it dies, and then you draw 2 cards. So basically, it's paying 1 mana to draw 2 cards, which is insane. So that's why Skull Clamp is so powerful. You would use it, it's basically like activated ability, 1 mana, draw 2 cards, sacrifice a creature. Yeah, 1 mana, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards, right? It's just crazy. Second Harvest, 4 mana. For each token, put a token that's a copy of that permanent. So this is essentially Parallel Lives, but it's an instant version of that. But Parallel Lives is a static effect, right? If an effect will put 1 or more tokens, this one just straight up doubles the amount of tokens. So that makes it very similar to Sapling Symbiosis. It's pretty much Sapling Symbiosis. It just doubles the amount of tokens you have. But it not only doubles the amount of creatures, it doubles the amount of tokens you have of other permanents as well. Not that I have any in this deck, but it's very useful it's very nice to know that. So yeah, that's basically doubling the amount of tokens. More and more tokens. Earthcraft, 2 mana. Tap an untapped creature you control, untap target basic land. That's really powerful. So yep, so when I have a bunch of tokens on the field, I can basically use them as mana. So that's essentially what that means. I can tap any untapped creature I control, and then they basically give me 1 mana each because they untap a land I have. Or in the case of Squirrel Nest, that means it's an infinite combo because so a land with Squirrel Nest taps to put a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. Then that 1/1 squirrel creature token can tap to untap this land, which has a Squirrel Nest on it. And then that land can tap again. And then the creature produced by that land can untap this land. So it can go like infinitely. So if you have Squirrel Nest and Earthcraft, it's an infinite combo. Infinite squirrels, I mean. So that's pretty cool to have. And if you have Essence Warden, that's infinite life. And if you have Skull Clamp, that's infinite cards. You can try your whole deck. Yeah, so Master of the Wild Hunt, I have this one. Every upkeep, I get a 2/2 Green Wolf creature token. I think that's a little bit slow compared to some of the other cards in this deck, but I do have other cards that produce wolves, like the Wolf Skull Shaman. So yeah, anyways, 2/2 wolves every turn for this guy. Another Earthcraft, 2 of them. Spawning Pit. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, a bunch of cards to produce tons and tons of tokens and gradually overwhelm the opponent with tokens. And that's it. Yep, that's the Elf token deck. All right. All green, 60 cards.